Today I have a special gown for you guys, and we are going to make the most beautiful tiered dress. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca and I redesign old thrifted items and I show you step by step how to do it. I'm super excited to share this dress with you guys, and I made this dress a year ago and I got so much response on my Instagram account, so I decided that I wanted to share the tutorial on my YouTube channel. I really hope that you guys find this tutorial helpful and that you will give it a try, and let's get started. Okay, so we're starting to make the pattern of the bodice part, and I am using a square about 50 centimeter one way and 50 centimeter the other way, and I'm taking the one corner and I'm placing it along the neckline. The higher I take the corner upwards, the more gathers I will get in the neckline. Once you're happy with the amount of gathers, you can go ahead and pin the gathers along the neckline. Next, straighten the sides of the halter neck and pin them down in the side seam. Do the same thing on both sides. Once the sides are pinned down, you're going to have some extra amount of fabric in the waist area. To get rid of the extra fabric, we're going to make darts. From the center of the bust, we're going gradually wider down into the waists, so that all the extra fabric is going to be hidden into the dart. Once you're happy with the fit, you can go ahead and cut away any excess fabric along the waistline and also along the sides of the pattern and on the darts. Now we're moving over to the back, and here I'm using the straight grain as the center of the back, and I'm folding it in 1 centimeter. Then I'm pinning it in place. Next, I'm also pinning the sides, and I'm cutting along the waistline to match up with the front of the halter neck. Then I'm cutting a diagonal line towards the neckline. Next, I'm cutting along the neckline on the back. And here we have a back piece and a front piece that matches each other. At this stage, you can go ahead and do any adjustments on your own body, or if you have a mannequin that fit yourself, we can go ahead and cut the lining out and also a front piece out in the back piece and on the front piece. I'm using a satin bedsheet for this. I'm cutting out the darts on both pieces, and then I'm going to sew the darts together on the lining part and also on the front part. Next, I'm going to sew up the sides of the lining and also on the outer fabric. I'm also going to press all the seams open. Next, I'm going to line up the lining with the outer fabric, and I'm sewing up all the edges. I'm keeping the neckline open so that I can turn everything around. Next, I'm cutting some small snits around the curved edges so that it folds out nicely. And then I'm folding everything outside. And I'm pressing it nicely with my iron. Then sew 2 parallel stitches on the neckline and pull the fabric so that it gathers slightly. Now we're going to create the skirt pattern, and we're going to use half our waist measurement, and we're going to divide it by 3.14 and then add it by 4. And in my case, I got 44 centimeters. This will be used as a radius when I'm drawing out 1/4 of a circle. Once you have drawn the half circle, you can go ahead and cut that half circle out. And next, you can measure the length that you want for the skirt. And in my case, I want it to be all down to the floor. Next, we're going to make the pattern for the ruffles we're going to have on the dress. And I'm using a radius on 15 centimeters on a folded fabric. And I'm drawing a half circle. The length on the ruffle is going to be 20 centimeters, so in total it's 35 centimeters to make the next half circle. cut the half circle out, and now you have a pattern that you can use to make a bunch of ruffles to cover the skirt. I ended up cutting out about 10 ruffles, and I also added a bit extra for the length, about 3 centimeters. Next, I measured down the length of the ruffle, and then I placed the next ruffle a few centimeters underneath that mark so that I was sure that each ruffles overlap each other so that you cannot see the lining underneath. If you twirl or if you're moving, you won't see the lining. So I made marks along the skirt every 17 centimeters. So I made marks and then I connected the lines, and then I made a new row of marks 17 centimeters from that previous row of marks. And then I did that until my whole skirt was covered with lines every 17 centimeters. The further down you reach the skirt, the longer ruffles you'll need, so you have to sew some of them together in the center. And for the top part of the ruffle, just serge the edge. And at the bottom, we're going to switch over to a rolled hem on our serger. And it depends on what serger you have, but on mine, I need to do a few adjustments before I can sew a rolled hem and also change to one needle. And then I've just serged a rolled hem at the bottom of each ruffle. Next, we're going to close up the back of the skirt. From that first mark at the top, we're going to sew all the way up to the first mark. Then we're going to press that seam open. And also press the sides of the opening on the back. Next, we're going to place the first ruffle at the top of the dress, and we're going to fold the sides of each ruffle and sew a straight stitch. Then we're matching up that side with the side opening on the back, and we're pinning it along the skirt opening and sewing it in place. For the next layer, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to pin it along that next mark, and we're going to sew it together on the back side of the skirt. Make sure that the seams matches with the back seam of the skirt. Then sew along that line and do the same thing on all the ruffles down on the skirt until you have reached the bottom. Next, we're going to install an invisible zipper from the top part of the skirt all the way down to the bottom of the opening. Try to sew it as close to the bottom seam as possible. Once the zipper is installed, make sure that it is straight and that the ruffles also matches up. Next, you can go ahead and open the zipper and place the bodice part, the back of the bodice, and match it up with the side seam of the skirt and pin it in place, only with the outer layer. Do this along the skirt's opening and sew a straight stitch along the outer layer and the skirt part. Next, you can fold the lining over the raw edge and cover it inside and pin it all in place along the waist of the skirt. Once you have pinned in place the lining, you can take a needle and thread and you can sew it in place. And make sure that you don't sew through all the layers because we don't want to have the seam showing out on the outside, but just sew through the lining parts and the lining of the skirt. Next, take some leftover fabric and fold it from corner to corner and cut along the bias of that folded edge, and then cut out a piece that measures about 10 centimeters in width, and the length depends on how long you want the ties to be in the back, and this is going to be the ties along the halter neck. So next, take the dress onto a dress form and start pinning the middle section of that strip along the halter middle section. Then fold them over to the back and pin them in place on the back of the halter neck. Pin it right side facing each other so that when you fold it up, you have the right side facing out. Do the same thing on the other side as well. Next, use your sewing machine to sew this in place. Then sew together each end of the neckties together, right side facing each other, and sew until you meet the corner of the back. I ended up sewing the edge diagonal, and then I folded it right side out. Make sure that you press all the corners out nicely so that it's sharp and nice when you press iron it afterwards. Then fold the edge 1 centimeter in and iron it over so that you hide the raw edge on the halter neck. Close up the edge by sewing it with a needle and thread and sewing it only through the lining layer. Sewing it by hand definitely gives the best results, and you have a hidden seam and it looks just as nice on the inside as on the outside. Lastly, we're just hemming the bottom of the lining, and I'm just using a serger, and then I'm folding it 1 centimeter up, and we are done. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you will give it a try. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content. I put out new videos every Friday, and I will talk to you guys next Friday. Bye!